It's all right.
Hold your applause to the end. My name is Dave Lamb. I also work with Pat at P2P Video. By trade, I'm a director of photography, camera guy, camera person. Been doing it for almost 20 years now. I think over 20 years now. But between the two of us, it's a lot of experience. So
yeah,
we're going to cram as much as we can in the next 40 minutes.
And part of this sort of film look thing is that it's going to be a little like left brain, right brain. He's going to talk about the how, and I'm going to try and talk more about the why, if that makes sense. And it's also sort of about trying to achieve it. So initially we'll start by sort of breaking down like what does film look mean? What does that even look like on a general concept? And then sort of how to achieve it with, you know, odds are the types of equipment you guys have access to. So like I'm curious, Ben Salem, like what, anybody from Ben Salem, what kind of cameras do you guys use? Anybody?
We typically use like DSLR, example, like Nikon, and I believe, do we have Canon? No, we have Nikon. We also use Panasonic cameras for live.
We nicknamed it live.
Yeah, we nicknamed it live because like a big Panasonic one.
Which Panasonic?
HDs.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. All right. So Oxford, somebody from Oxford, what kind of cameras do you guys use?
Canon X810.
Okay, very specific. Thank you. And then Sandy Run.
Red Epics.
You guys don't really actually have a Red Epic. You do?
No.
No.
Great. So what kind of cameras do you use?
Old iPads.
Oh, great. All right. See, everything and anything.
Yeah.
Okay, that's awesome.
That's what you have to say. It's a very artistic and kind of goofy way of saying it, but you don't need, you know, this is a Panasonic GH4. This is a Handycam. You know, we're going to show you how to do the same kind of tricks to pull off the same kind of looks with completely different kind of cameras. iPads, iPhones, Palm Quarters, GH4, Red Epics. So it doesn't matter what you use.
Okay, thank you. Give us a moment to
Am I on the air?
change batteries here.
I think we're still ahead of schedule. All right.
Okay.
We good?
We rolling? Can we talk?
1, 2, great. Cool.
Okay. Okay, so now, in earnest, so basically, we're going to start with the basis of what is the film look. You know, first and foremost, it runs at 24 frames a second. Not everything has run at 24 frames a second. When I was still in college, we were thrilled to get video cameras that ran at 30 progressive frames. You know, before that, we were shooting on 60 interlaced frames, and everything looked like a soap opera. And so when you were trying to get that film look, it was incredibly difficult. Now, you guys are incredibly lucky because you all have these little cameras that actually run at 24 progressive frames a second, which is part of what's actually going to get you that look. Shooting in 30p is a close approximation, but isn't going to give you the same exact literal frame by frame of 24 frames a second.
Whenever possible, 24 frames a second, progressive, except no substitutes. Unless the camera can't do it.
Then shoot them whatever.
Then shoot whatever you can.
Whatever. Also, part of what that does is it sort of has a softer look. Partially that came initially from sort of film and film grain, but nowadays these HD cameras are, you know, really incredibly sharp and kind of actually not at all soft. But part of what you can do to sort of bring back that softness sometimes is using things like prime lenses, because actual pieces of glass can bring a sort of softness to the look. The next big thing is aspect ratio. So we see up here the 3 different aspect ratios. So 1:3:3:1 is your traditional tube television. You guys remember tube televisions, right? Before you all had big flat screens? 4:3, 1:3:3:1. So initially that's what, like, you know, when film started, it was a square. Original sort of Academy 35 was a square. Eventually, to counteract television, they came up with 185 to 1, which is essentially your 16:9 television. So what happened was then they sort of any movie you see nowadays, at least a big Hollywood movie, is going to wind up being 235 to 1 or CinemaScope, which is even wider. So to show you an example of these so that it's not just abstract blocks,
Because that's boring.
if you guys saw Grand Budapest Hotel, that movie utilized all 3 aspect ratios. So in this scene, here we are in the 133 to 1 aspect ratio. In this scene, we're in the 185 to 1, 16:9. And then here is the 235. And you can see how it's super wide. It's incredibly wide. In fact, he's using such a wide lens that you can see an actual like barrel distortion on the image, because that guy loves shooting with really wide lenses. Sorry?
Oh, my boy Wes.
Yeah, yes. Yes. He's all our boy. So that's sort of, when you're thinking about the film look, it's really about that frame. And shooting in 16:9, 185, they're the same thing. Or even shooting 16:9 to crop to 235. Partly because shooting an actual legitimate 235 requires a really expensive anamorphic lens. So, if you wanted to get an even wider film look, the idea is you could, shoot
Actually,
wide. You want me to go back?
No,
zoom it in.
Zoom it in. So see what's happening already. So if you did want to shoot one of your projects in this super wide aspect ratio, you see what's happening. You basically need to shoot to allow for when you crop the top and bottom. So this look is cool, but remember when you're actually shooting it, don't put the person's head like way up here. You're not going to see it. So keep that in mind, which I think takes us to one of our next. Was that? No, that's later on.
No, it's later on.
Okay.
Depth of field.
Depth of field. Okay. You want to go for depth of field?
Yeah. So, okay. Is there a good example in here? Not really, because it's Wes Anderson and everything is in focus. So the point of depth of field is essentially the shallowness or depth of your focal field. So what's going to happen is if you are shooting at a really wide aperture, and we'll get into this more specifically once we actually get one of the teachers down in this chair.
Yeah.
But so basically what we're talking about is if something is really, if everything is entirely in focus, then we're talking about a deep depth of field. If you've got a close-up of a person and everything behind them is completely out of focus and your like focal length is maybe only a foot or two, then you've got an incredibly shallow depth of field. That's the basics of it. How you can achieve it, we'll go into more specifically when we sit down here. So that's some of the just basics. But now let's get into the actual planning and application. The first thing is to actually plan, guys. Like really plan. Like actually, write a script and then maybe do a rewrite or 4. That would be really great. And then once you've actually settled on the script, go do storyboards, shot lists. These are the storyboards from Taxi Driver. Martin Scorsese did them. He's terrible at drawing. It doesn't matter. It's about conveying something on the page to your crew. That's what needs to happen. It's just about communication by any means. And plus, it's a lot cheaper to figure it out and make mistakes on paper than when you're like out with people all day and then you screw it up and have to go back out and shoot it again. Right? That makes sense. Okay, let's, should we sit him down?
Sure. All right, need a subject to sit in the chair. However, should be a teacher, because a student sitting in... I think it's unanimous. See, we used to have a student sit in the chair, and we realized, like, oh, wait, the student sitting in the chair can't see the monitors, so they can't see what's going on. So you get to do it. All right, so to get that film look, to make your stuff look like a film. When you shoot it on an iPad, you shoot it on
What's
a
your name, by the way?
DSLR.
CJ, nice to meet you.
I'm Dave. We're going to try and cover as much as we can,
Yeah.
using as what we have available to make that happen. All right, so we talked about 24p.
How come that one's not on?
Uh-oh. Oh. Did you go sleep again?
Feel loved.
There you go.
Is that better? Is that on? Is something on that screen there?
No. There we go.
Bingo.
There we
All right.
go.
So just to be clear about which is which, on the left we have the GH4, which is a camera that has a large-ish sensor, right? A larger sensor. Also has prime lenses on it, right? What do you have on there, the 35?
This is a 50.
50 millimeter lens on it.
Lens.
And then this guy here is a, whatever that handy cam is.
Yeah, I don't
don't remember what that handy
I
cam
don't
is.
even own a handy cam. I borrowed it.
But so you can already sort of see the difference between what that chip and that chip does to the image.
Right, so depth of field requires a number of things. The size of your sensor, the size of your iris, and the length of your lens. So what we're going to do is, well, the first thing you see right away.
Hey, wait, firstly, everyone, when we say iris, you guys know what we mean by iris, right? Great.
Okay.
Just checking.
Just checking. All right, so this camera, super tiny chip. The sensor is probably about this big, maybe a quarter of an inch if you're lucky. This one, the GH4, is a 4/3 size chip, a little bit bigger. So what's the first thing you notice is that he's in focus,
Yeah.
but so is that.
And
On the
over here,
GH4, oh wow, I can see you.
very shallow.
Very shallow.
I'm all out of focus.
So already the sensor size, the cameras are the exact same distance from our subject. So the sensor size is already dictating how much that bokeh, that's the fancy word for the area that's out of focus. So we want a film look. So this one's already halfway there. We got the depth of field, we got a nice light. How do you make this camera kind of do the same thing as that one? So you got to compensate for chip size. So you must increase the distance from your subject. So I'm going to take this little camera guy. With any luck, the cables will come with me. Let's try, look at it. I think I doubled the distance. I can zoom in. This thing's hard to work with. Even at this distance, still in focus, still in focus. So it's not always going to work.
Actually, it looks more like the GH4's in focus than him.
The other part of the problem is know your gear. There we go. He's in focus, background's in focus. It's hard to deal with. So
Are you at the you're at the end of the lens there with
Am
the
I?
zoom?
well, this has like one of those like crazy digital zooms.
One of those, yeah, optical
Yeah.
digital zooms.
I don't know, I'll step back even further. So you see the problem here. I'm about, what, 25 feet away from my subject. Not totally practical when you're on location and you're in someone's room that is only 15 feet. So let's try and focus this again. Let's see if I can waste, how much time can I waste with using the touch screen? There we go. All right, still in focus. So, there we go.
And that's what's the aperture on that?
I have no idea.
Oh, right, because you don't know. That's the other problem.
Yeah. All right. So we've established this camera cannot even compete with this camera, which is fine. So the goal is to achieve separation. Separating your... I hate touchscreens. Separating your background from your subject.
Yeah.
Because what you want to do is bring as much attention as you can to your subject. So here we've pretty much achieved that. When you look at that over there, what's the first thing you look at? Him. Background's out of focus.
Right.
This one, not so much.
Yep.
So we can try and, we have already tried to do that. We're throwing some light in the subject. Get him brighter than everything else. So is this where you go into three-point light?
Yeah, let's
First
talk about
class of the
three-point
day.
light.
Super fun.
Here, you need this?
Yes, I do.
So yeah, we're going to talk about the basics of three-point lighting here, which is essentially, everything. You'd be surprised how many movies just function with the three-point light setup, which is essentially, you've got your key. Okay, this is just a China ball. It's a big, soft thing that we bought at IKEA with what, 100-watt?
It's a 100-watt bulb inside.
100-watt bulb inside. This is a great key light and inexpensive.
Have you guys covered three-point light yet?
No. How much does that cost?
It's like $9. Cool. IKEA. That's the point of what we're doing today too.
Yeah.
$9. IKEA. Kmart. I don't know. 8, maybe 12. And then, Michael's, AC Moore, $4. So that's basically what we're going to light our subjects with today. It's the stuff you can find at the supermarket, basically.
Yeah.
So we're not bringing any professional gear. We're going to show you guys stuff you can just like grab and start using. So have you guys, sorry, three-point light. You guys covered three-point light yet? Okay.
No one knows that. Great. Wonderful.
You've got a key light, a fill light, and a rim light.
3 points of light.
3 points of light.
It's a good name, right?
Now what I'm probably about to do is ruin television for you forever. Because once I show you this stuff, you're going to see it. You're going to be watching TV, go like, that's a rim light. Oh, I should pay attention to the program.
And by the way, you should be. That's called formal analysis, and that's what you should be doing all the time. Counting cuts, counting camera positions, thinking about where the light's coming from. You should be doing that all the time. Watching a movie in 2 ways.
Right. So we've got our key light. The key light dictates where the sources of light are coming from. Maybe he's sitting next to a window. So no matter wherever you place your key light.
And so you see what that did there with that, just by moving that. The source, before it was sort of at a 3/4 spot. He was sort of very nicely filled. And now,
there we go.
It's a little more moody, right? Straight up and down.
So you got a lot of light coming from the room. So
well, that's true. Hang on.
There we go. There we go.
Okay. So that's our first point. That's your key.
Always your work lights.
That's your key. You're going to start with the key.
Now the problem is the key, we only see one side of his face. So what we do is we bring in a bounce or another source of light to bring in a fill. You see how close I am to this, but you can't see it on camera.
No, you can here. We see your fill here.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, there it is.
But so adjust that. But so yeah, see,
so as I
CJ, if you just look right in the camera, you can see how. Go ahead, pull it out, Dave.
There we go. So I pull it away. Nothing. Bounce card.
That's a $4 piece of white card, and it's another light.
Right.
And that's why you need a crew. You can't do this all by yourself. You need.
Well, technically you can. Here. Here's a chair, commonly found in most households. Here's what we call in the business a pony clamp, or an A-clamp. You get these at Home Depot. They're $1 each. All right? There, I just hired a chair. There we go.
Okay, so now you've got your key at a moody angle, and your fill so that the other side of his face is not completely in the dark.
But what's the problem yet? We've got all this that kind of blends into the background. Maybe you want that. It's okay. 3-point light system, you don't need all 3. Don't be afraid of the dark. Maybe you do want this kind of moody kind of thing, but you know what? I don't. So, here's our little lamp. As I bring this in, There's a rim light.
Yeah.
So now we have separation between here. We have our nice out of focus, in focus. Here's a separation, a key, and a fill. And we pretty much did the same thing over here. Even though everything's in focus, and the image quality is meh, we've got focus, focus, but look, I got my separation. So even with the iPads, even with little palm quarters, you can do it. You can get that film look. Now mind you, next time you're watching anything, newscast, CW, anything, you're going to see a lot of this. The separation light.
Real
it
quick.
Always hits you right in the back of the head, always separates from the background.
Real quick.
I've ruined you for TV forever.
Let's, can you switch the input on this thing?
Yes.
That remote is garbage.
Yeah, it is.
Here we go. What's this? A screenshot from Jurassic Park. What do we have here? A key, some fill, and a rim.
And depth of field. What are we looking
And
at?
depth of field. So we actually have a foreground element that's out of focus. We have our subject that's in focus in the middle. And then the background is completely soft. So this would be a sort of telephoto shot, which is sort of like what we have set up here. Which you'll often see, it's a good, like this is a 50 millimeter. Sometimes people will use an 85 millimeter for an even closer subject. But now,
Hold on. Also notice, remember I was saying the key light motivates where the light sources are coming from? Check it out. There's a giant, what looks like some kind of industrial kind of work light. And here it is. I can guarantee you, this light is not even probably hitting his face. The light hitting here is probably over here somewhere, and it's a big soft source. So we see the source of the light. You're faking out your audience and creating that source yourself. Control as much as you can of your environment. And then
also,
there's rim light.
Also, bokeh.
And bokeh, yes, the outer.
Where is it?
It doesn't
won't
work on
here.
screens.
God.
I know. I want to use a laser pointer so
So
bad.
when we're talking about bokeh, this is another depth of field thing. So see these circular, soft circular things? That's sort of the way that the lens is interacting with light that is out of focus. And that's completely due to a shallow depth of field, a really shallow depth of field. If you guys ever watch Saturday Night Live and they'll do those transitional things before they go to commercial, and you see the camera switches focus, and the background suddenly, those bits of light turn into an actual SNL, that's actually just a filter over the lens turning the bokeh into an SNL shape. Yep.
Can't you make them out of cardboard and stuff?
Totally. Yeah. Yes, absolutely. If you put a shape in front of the lens and you have shallow enough depth of field, the bokeh will turn into whatever shape you want. I think there's also some sequences in Scott Pilgrim versus the World where the bokeh in the background is like a heart versus an X, because it's all subtext, people. It's all subtext.
You're in control of the audience.
So here, this is our close-up, and this is kind of what we achieved here. Now, another shot, to go back to this dude again.
Can you zoom in? There we go.
So this is kind of a classic wide shot. It's also a very classic Wes Anderson wide shot because of how symmetrical it is. We've got the two suns here, two windows, two file cabinets, two sets of books, and he's split down the middle. This is sort of like a classic super wide Wes Anderson composition, but also a very symmetrical composition, which is one thing you can do with wide.
Also, almost everything's in focus.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
It's okay, everything's in focus. So again, if you can't control that focal depth, there you go. There's a great example. Like you are drawing attention right to where you want to go.
In some ways, you have to consider. It's not to say that you should consider any frame less than another, but in a wide frame, there's more to draw your attention. So there's more for you to consider when framing something wide. You have to think about, what's the point of this shot? Who am I after? Is there a detail that I need to let the audience know? You have to think about your framing. Don't just plop a camera down and start rolling. Think about everything inside of it. Okay? There's a French term for this. Of course, the French came up with it. Mise en scène means everything inside the frame. So it's your actors, it's what they're wearing, it's the props, it's the color temperature of the light itself. Literally everything within the frame you should be considering. Otherwise, the French won't think you made a good movie. Do you want to try? Where are we?
We got 20 minutes. 25 minutes.
25 minutes. Okay. Right. So the other thing is we're talking about
Different types of shots. So we got a wide shot, we got a telephoto shot.
And also moving the camera.
Moving the camera.
Because I know that in years past, students have talked about the difficulty of moving the camera. Yeah,
right.
it's hard to move the camera.
You're right, it's very hard.
Especially when you have incredibly shallow depth of field. Partly because if your focal distance is only, say, 2 or 3 feet, and you're trying to follow behind someone, the moment they get out of that 2-3 feet range, they're going to fall out of focus. So you need to be constantly riding the focus, which is a difficult thing to do. You can, something to make it slightly easier would be to actually shoot wide. If you shoot wider, like something like this, your depth of field isn't going to be as shallow, and thus you can move the camera and things will stay more in focus.
Move on to shot coverage.
Oh yeah. Shoot a lot. Shoot a
a lot of
lot.
stuff.
Don't just shoot a master.
So when you have like a dialogue scene, for example, shoot the wide of 2 people talking. You can see both people in the frame. Shoot over the shoulder. Shoot just the other person talking. Shoot as many things as you can. You will save yourself a whole lot of headache when you're editing to have more to work
Yes.
with. This goes back to the whole planning process too. Like plan, replan, forget that plan, make a new plan, storyboard. You want to walk into your edit situation with as much stuff as you possibly can.
And think about some questions to ask when you're sort of thinking about these shots is, does the scene have a point of view? Whose scene is it? Like sort of who owns the scene? What's the major point of the scene? You know, is there a specific character point of view that's more important? Those are all things to consider when you're putting a shot list together for the scene. And you should overshoot. You really should. I mean, when you come in with a plan, you should expect that it'll go wrong, and you'll have to figure out another way to shoot it, to correct it. But you want options in the editing room.
Yeah, there's an old tropey saying. There's the movie you write, there's the movie you shoot, and there's the movie that you edit. In each part of the process, you're writing, I have a really great idea, I'm going to write this down. When you're shooting it, the logistics are a nightmare. Like, I can't believe I wrote this. I'll try and stick to my vision. I'll shoot as best I can. Then when you get to the edit room, you're like, oh, well, I didn't get that one shot, but I got more of this shot, so the effect of my story is going to change. So keep that in mind, too, is that just stay flexible, but stay true to your vision at the same time. Where are we at? 20 minutes.
Okay, let's go back to the camera real quick. Let's throw a wide lens on this.
All right.
So you can actually see a
It's so dark in here.
difference. You can turn some lights on for a second.
I have lights on.
So while we're switching this out, does anyone have any questions right now? Or you're all like, no, we've covered this. I've learned nothing new. Go ahead.
When you're using a drone or something that isn't stationary,
Yeah.
and you can't exactly use a soft light like that for your key light, would you just use the sun and film until you get exactly what you want?
The sun is the best key light.
Okay.
The sun is a great key light that we all have access to, which is wonderful. What you can do often, though, is that the sun is often a little too hot, which is an understatement. And so what you can do is you can get ND filters that go on the ends of your lenses, or some cameras have built-in ND filters, but also, you can get like any sort of like transparent sort of netting or a piece of silk, hold it up over your subject, and that's going to cut the light down significantly. So you can get the exposure that you're looking for. Does that help? Okay. Sure.
What do you want to do?
Look at this wide thing.
Oh.
Okay, so Oh, you hit the switch there. Hey.
Is it not showing up?
Wake up.
Grr.
Oops.
Come on, you. Nothing? Something? There we go.
Okay, so you can see this is still sort of our telephoto. This is a 16 millimeter lens. It's really wide. I'm in focus. This gentleman's in focus. You guys are all in focus. That's a big difference, right? I know, that's an obvious statement, but that's a majorly big difference. Now, you see how Dave's moving really close to the subject. And we actually now do start to get some separation there.
Kind of uncomfortably close.
But so that's the, I mean, that's just to show you the sort of difference between these lenses. You know, his original position in the 50 millimeter was like 3 feet back, and he had shallow depth of field, no problem.
Yeah.
And again, too, you're shooting at what? Like a wide open, right?
Yes, this iris is wide open. There we go.
So the other thing to do would be, if you really wanted to, you know, not get shallow depth of field working with a wide, is the more you close down your iris. Yeah, I know. He's like, this is a terrible example. We don't have enough light.
Yeah.
The greater the depth of field is going to be and stay. So that's just sort of a basic rule. But let's talk about color temperature.
Yes.
We need to get to that, I guess.
We
right?
do. Yeah, we're
Okay.
almost out.
Because you guys, I know that they wanted us to talk about sort of color correction, and you can, thank you,
Yeah,
CJ.
thank you. Thank you very much.
Oh, God. What have I done? So we're going to talk about color temperature. There are two basic color temperatures. You guys are kind of aware of color temperature? Do you guys know what like the two basic color temperatures are, right? Anybody? Anybody? Go ahead. Okay, all right. Now let's get more specific. So there is a rating on the Kelvin scale. When you're like setting the color balance on your camera, the warmer end is going to be up in the 5,000s, right? Like
Lower. The warmer end is down the lower end of the scale, 32,000 K, or sometimes
Right.
32,000
Yeah.
K. The sun burns at 5,600 Kelvin.
Yeah.
So white light, or brighter light, blue, hot, warmer light, yellow, orange.
But so here we go. This is a screenshot from Spike Lee's Do the Right Thing. It's pretty hot. It's a hot movie, and this is a very hot red shot. Now we have a still from Traffic. Boy, is that blue. It's very cold, very blue. They're on the extreme sort of ends of the spectrum there. Partially, they're decisions that the director makes to make a point, right? The film Do the Right Thing is about hot racial tension on a heat wave in Brooklyn, so everything's really red. Specifically in Traffic, Soderbergh used color temperatures to help the audience sort of designate many intertwining stories. So this story was very blue, while as the Benicio del Toro was a little more yellow. So it's a decision that you make, but also something that the audience can read immediately about your intention between warmness and coolness. But so how do you then get that?
And you guys are all familiar with white balancing a camera, right? Put something white in front of the camera.
Good.
Tell the camera that this is a white normal light. Okay.
Great.
All right. So
we're using Premiere here to sort of do some basic color correction, but I mean, do you guys use Premiere?
We use Final Cut.
You use Final Cut?
Okay.
This Final Cut's going to have the same like color corrector type of tool. So
Yeah.
it applies regardless of the software, it applies.
right. Because, and if you guys remember from, if you paid attention to art class, you got the color wheel, right? So you got opposite ends of the color spectrum. You've got blue is the opposite of orange, green is the opposite of magenta, cyan is the opposite of yellow. So between Premiere, Final Cut, any other edit software, you'll see a color correction wheel just like this. So you've got, let's see. So we want to create a mood. So here we have a classroom shot. Pretty exciting, right? That was the word I was going to use. All right, but we want to create a mood. Maybe.
It's one of our best sellers on a stock footage website.
Yeah, by the way.
People love it.
But if we put this towards the blue, make it a little cold. Let's increase our contrast a little bit. So what does it say about this classroom now? A little moodier, a little sadder.
It's cold.
It's very cold. How about now? Besides being a classroom located on the sun, a little happier? Kind of a place a little more inviting?
Also, it's really low contrast, which also sort of says something. You know, like often you'll find that sort of like comedies and things like that often have a sort of lower contrast. Mm-hmm. There's a big difference there. The sort of more dramatic stuff is going to be sort of high contrast, which sort of denotes a sort of grittiness, whereas low contrast is sort of a softer look.
Right.
And that's all sort of interpretable.
Right. So let's put a person in the mix. So maybe that was an empty classroom. This is my great 90-year-old aunt. She was nice enough to sit down and tolerate my presence for a little while to shoot this back and forth.
And she is your great aunt. She's also a wonderful woman, but
yes,
she is your great aunt.
She's a great aunt.
Yeah.
She really is. So that's without any correction. So what does the shot even tell us? A little sad, a little lonely, a little morose. How about now?
A little blown out on this TV as well, by the way.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Well, it looks great here.
Yeah.
So even sadder. But, you know, I love my aunt, so let's cheer up a little bit.
And so you see what Dave's doing. All he's playing with is essentially the color wheel, which is, you know, changing the tint of the entire scene. And then down here he's sort of adjusting. What were you adjusting? The output levels and the...
Basically, yeah. So a lot of these color corrective tools, and they're all different places. But here in Premiere, there's these two sliders here where I can control the dark levels. So I can crush the low end. You can see here in the lamp. I can bring the dark levels in. I can also blow out that window even more. So you can't see it. Just a big source of light. So, does that make sense?
And so obviously these are very extreme versions. Part of what you're trying to do here when you're color correcting, the reason to color correct beyond just, you know, a look or a decision is a certain level of consistency, at least within a scene. Different scenes can be colored differently to convey a point or whatever it is you're trying to get at. But when one shot doesn't match another shot within a scene, you know, you can completely lose an audience because there goes their suspension of disbelief. That's just the basic. You're looking for consistency and a point of view. I think that's it. Thank you for dealing with our bumbling first show.
We got about...
The third one is going to be great.
Well, we do have a little time left.
Well, I was going to throw it out to questions if there are a bunch of questions. Go ahead.
like you're filming your grandma or whatever, do you put that on like a dolly or like a stabilizer?
It's a dolly.
It's a dolly?
Yeah.
So then when you film it, like say there's audio, right? Like the dolly makes the noise.
The best, don't let the dolly make noise. Unfortunately, I mean, we have all kinds of stuff at our disposal. Things with little motors and stuff, you hit the button and the thing motors back and forth. That motor is a stepper motor. Stepper motors are loud. Like, whee, as they go back and forth. So you gotta go at like super slow pace. My wife is a seamstress. She made like this big like muffler that fits on top of the motor, to try and like muffle the sound. So it sounds dumb, but like go as slow as you can. But not every dolly shot has to be zipping across the screen. I mean, this dolly is only about like 20 inches or something like that. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, but part of what you can do there is using the set audio as a guide. Go back. I mean, this comes down to sound design. Go back, get a microphone, re-record all that dialogue, sync it up, build your soundtrack from the ground up. You get room tones and background noises, and you completely rebuild the audio. It's more work. It's more work, but it'll be better. Anybody else? Go ahead.
This question is kind of random, but how do you create a silhouette and when would you use them?
How would you create a silhouette?
Kill the lights. Who wants to sit in the chair? Come on up. So we were talking about the 3 points of light, right? Oh. You guys can't see nothing. Oh, shoot.
Yeah, you're not going to, you'll have an easier time with, also clean your lenses. I say that because I just touched that lens.
Thanks. Thanks for that.
It's dark.
Get rid of that for me too.
Yep.
Okay. All right, silhouette, right? All right. Basically, I would turn that light off. Where are we at? We're over there.
That's terrible.
So remember I was saying how you don't have to use all three in your 3-point light. There's a silhouette. We can still kind of see them, but I think it's because my bounce card's here.
Bounce card off the whiteboard in the back.
Yeah.
Oh, that too. Well, can't really cover that one up.
But so yeah, something like that. I mean, if you remove all the lights and you only have the rim, you're going to get
Right.
a silhouette.
Yeah.
To answer your second question, I throw it back at you. I don't know. Why do you want to use a silhouette? What are you trying to convey?
I guess like a more serious mood or like something that like I don't want any pieces, so like just like body parts or
Sure.
something like that would be okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So basically what I did is I backlit him, really. And also I've got another effect going on here, which is kind of cool, is I got a lens flare. Because the light is actually hitting the lens. You can have fun with that too. That's kind of cool.
So yeah.
Let's see. Stuff like that too. Here's a silhouette. That's a witness protection program, right, if I ever saw it. Now, if I wanted a little bit of light, I got this bounce card. So now I can see them. Now I really can't. So now I'm using the rim light and the fill light. Key
Yeah.
light is nowhere to be seen. Answer your question? There's other, There's other tricks too. Thank you.
Go ahead back there.
So
Oh, yeah,
going
yeah.
back to the color wheel thing, say you have one thing in particular that you want to highlight. Is there a way to use that color wheel to, like, say, click on that one thing and just show the difference between that?
Yes. It's not simple. No, it is pretty simple. It's just time consuming. You can essentially apply a mask within Premiere to color correct only a specific object.
Yeah.
But so what you have to do is it's like a garbage mat, and you create your points around the object that you want. You feather the edges, and then because it's a moving picture, you move one frame, adjust keyframes, move one frame, adjust keyframes, move until it's done. Yeah. Yes.
All right, so I have 2 questions.
Okay.
My first one, and then notice there's like pencil drawing on your white thing there. Is there like a reason for that?
Nope.
All right, so my second
Okay.
question, with the lighting on, right? Like the flare or whatever goes into my glasses and it reflects.
Right.
Is there a way to like get rid of that?
Move around your light sources until you can't see them anymore. Typically, with glasses, higher is better. Because remember, physics class. You pay attention in physics class, right? Angle of incidence equals angle of reflection. Guess what? And it's happening right here, too. So wherever that bounce card is, the reflection's bouncing right in the lens. So you just got to like change that angle until you can't see it anymore.
Let's say you wanted to film out at like night. How would you, but like, without any like street lights, how would you kind of get the effect of the moon or create that kind of lighting?
So that's about color temperature.
Right here. It is about a color temperature.
That's about, I mean,
We've been trained in the past, like, many years of television that blue light, blue rim light, is a moon. Anytime you see that out in the middle of nowhere, it's a moon. It's moonlight. You
Yeah.
never see the moon, but that's moonlight right there.
Yeah.
So you basically get white balance your camera so that it looks like blue lights in the back of their heads.
Yeah. Or
you know,
when you're color correcting in the end, really push it on the blue end when you're color correcting the shot.
So
Right.
if you're going to be color correcting it, would you want to use like actual light, like yellow light, and then just color correct it, or would you still want to use that and then color correct it?
I would say try and get the color correct in your camera.
Yep.
Use the color correction as like a tool to augment, or if you really need to, like save it.
Alright.
But really, you should get your colors correct in the camera, and then use the color correction to augment, to make it pop. Is that it? Are we
I think
done?
that's it. I think
Okay.
we're done.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Oh yeah. Hey.